The piggy deserved better. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 6 of Lucifer. So, I'm gonna say this right off the bat. I mentioned it last time, but we're gonna be taking a mid-season break from Lucifer after this episode, and the reason for such is just because one, it is mid-season. Two, and I feel a little more importantly, is we're reacting to another show currently that is a double length runtime show, and that is, you know, also notably heavy in terms of like content compared to other stuff we typically react to. And because of that, I just feel like maybe I'm not in the right place right now to react to both of those at the same time. So I'm choosing, since we're at that point, that halfway point in the season for Lucifer anyway, we're going to take the break on that and come right back to it after we get to something else. And by that point, we should be finished with Hellbound, which is the other show. So we should be in a good place at that point to continue on with this. It's just sometimes, you know, you got to make these tough decisions for the sake of mental health, for the sake of just enjoyment of the series as well. So, yeah. But I'll talk more about that in the afterthoughts. Lucifer is becoming more and more human, you can say. He is starting to feel pain. He is starting to change emotionally and personality wise. And we see that with this entire uh, case, I guess, last episode. But through some finagling, Lucifer also managed to get himself into the police department as a permanent consultant, working directly with Chloe for the foreseeable future, on an official level, mind you. Because everything up to now has been, well, unofficial. It's been just being consulted by Chloe, most of the time against her will, and it just works out. This time, like from here on out, and technically last episode as well, it's official though. He's like actively working like as an officially signed consultant of the department. Um, think of Adrian Monk from, well, the series Monk. He is not like a part of the hired employees of the police department. He is a consultant that they bring in to help with cases when they can't solve them on their own, or when they just feel they need his, you know, special touch to help out. And by the way, I say that with all love and everything. Like the term special touch, I mean nothing by it. As someone with disabilities myself, I just want to make that clear. Um, but yeah, so it's kind of like that, except instead of, you know, with Monk being obsessive compulsive and having like extremely high observational skills and all, we have Lucifer, who just is very good at getting to the heart of things, usually by fucking with the hearts of the people, you know, involved in the case. It's a really interesting comparison to draw between these two shows. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. I don't think this is going to be any kind of mid-season finale kind of deal. I don't see this like really like trying to do something like that. It just doesn't feel like that kind of show. So I'm hoping that it's just a good episode to leave off on. We've got a lot of plot threads currently in the works. We've got a lot of things being set up. But at the moment, it's kind of just up in the air. So, hopefully, this is a good one to leave off on. And like I said, after we do this other show, we will be coming right back to this one. Without question, I have a lot of plans to continue this. That was the wrong way of putting it, but you know what I mean. I definitely plan to continue this. I'm enjoying the series so far. No real complaints, at least. So just gonna take a break for something a little easier to digest at the moment. So yeah, let's get into this and hope for the best. When the screen fades to black and sorry, it's early. When the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This was actually a really good episode to take a break after. This episode, like most of the episode, wasn't like anything special. It was another case. But having the connection with it being Lucifer's, stolen goods, and having just all of that go down with him kind of, the questions of his identity and everything is really interesting. On top of that, you have obviously the ending bit with his wings. And that's even more so. That actually makes this even more fascinating to me. And again, a great way to close this off for now. Because it's definitely going to allow this to ruminate in my mind leading into when we return, which will make the payoffs even better. I don't feel this was a Mendiel. One, I feel that's too easy. And two, I don't think he would do that. Right now, his only goal is to get Lucifer back into hell, and he's working with, the therapist to do so. And that's all well and good. But at the same time, I don't think he would steal the wings. And obviously we don't know, or we know that Maze didn't do it. So is there like maybe another demon up here in LA who is like fucking with them, or even maybe another angel who's maybe taking like things into a different direction with, the goal of getting Lucifer back to hell? I'm wondering like how much of that we're gonna see, because again, all we've seen so far is in terms of the mythology side of things is Lucifer, Maze, and Amendiel. And the series focuses more most of the time on, the human crimes that they're solving. It's giving us sprinkles of the mythology side of things, but only little sprinkles at the moment. And I assume that's going to become a bigger thing as the series goes on. I just don't know exactly how they're going to execute all of that. Because it's like, I automatically think to Supernatural and how that came into play. How everything just started to be brought into that. It started with, okay, you have a demon or a monster here, monsters of the week kind of thing. But then they start bringing in different angels. They start bringing in like high-ranking demons and stuff, and it starts like changing kind of the scope of the series, adding more to the mythology, more to the overall overarching plot. And I think that's probably what they're going to do here as well. At least that's what I kind of see coming. Now, the case in this episode, outside of, again, Lucifer's wings being in that storage container, wasn't really that interesting. It was just like, oh, a storage container is stolen by someone, and the security guard was killed. It's a standard Lucifer case. The fact that it was Lucifer's container is the only thing that makes it interesting. But more so, the most interesting aspects of this episode, again, come from the discussions of Lucifer's identity. And I would say probably the best part of that is at the end when he's having the conversation with Linda, and she starts bringing out all of the, knowledge. All of the knowledge about who he is with his other names like Abaddon and Belial and, Samael. Which, by the way, she mispronounced those. Yes, there's been different pronunciations throughout history and in different cultures and whatnot. But the most widely used and accepted pronunciations are Abaddon, not Abaddon, or whatever the fuck she said. It's Belial, not Belial. It's like, what? No one says Belial. It's Belial. It's like, geez. I think she pronounced Samael correctly, though. So there's that at least. But yeah, I really like the fact that it's going into this lore. Because, well, I mean, as a Christian, it's like this is stuff that I do know about. Maybe not like to every detail, but to a degree I do know about this. Because, I'm a Christian. I've heard this stuff. Throughout most of my life and just through various other pieces of media even as well. And seeing how this is affecting Lucifer as well is the big deal too. Because, like, Amendiel did tell Linda that this would upset him. And that he wouldn't think it was helping him. He told her that Lucifer would lash out, that he would not handle this well. So she was prepared for that, luckily. I don't think she was necessarily prepared for him putting a hole in her wall, but she was prepared for him lashing out at least. But yeah, he definitely reacted in the way that was expected, the way that they, discussed he would react. It very much got to him, and you actually see at multiple points in this that things are getting to him in different ways than before. Hell, even Rennie, I think his name was, even him jumping off the roof and committing suicide after seeing Lucifer's true face, that affected Lucy. Like, you saw that actually bothered the shit out of him, and not just because of not finding out what he needed to know. Granted, yes, that was an issue too, but you could see just the fact that this dude jumped to his death in response to this genuinely fucked Lucifer up a little bit. And that goes in line with the fact that he is becoming more mortal and that this stuff is bothering him more than he would like to admit. And we kind of get to a big bit of his character depth in this as well, going back to the entire conversation at the end there with Linda. We see that it is kind of what was said earlier in the episode, like the fact that others see him as evil bothers him. And he makes it very clear in his rant there that he does not see himself that way. He talks about like how everybody sees him as like the devil on the shoulder, who forcing them to do all these terrible things, and he's like yelling that it's like he never did that. That's not what he does. And that everybody has this skewed perception of him, and it's, you could tell it hurts him. You could tell it hurts him that people see him this way. And he very much blames God for that, for casting him out. And he very much blames, the lot he was dealt in life, what he was, forced to do, being a torturer, being, the devil. It's why he can't handle, like, being told that he's God's favorite son. That he was cast out because of love, not because of hate. And that's kind of the thing. Lucifer is not just like a rebellious son. He feels himself to be a scorned son. He feels betrayed by his father, who it's very clear he still cares for and really wants the approval of. In a way, he's almost kind of a prodigal son, you could say. He rebelled against his father, was cast out of his father's presence because of it, and does not feel worthy of being within it again. And while, of course, the stories are different, because, like, he didn't leave of his own will to, be debaucherous, and he hasn't, like, tried... Well, I don't know if he's tried to go back within the lore of this series. We know he can't because of his wings, but there's a lot of connections still, nonetheless, to the idea of the story. And I think that's very interesting. I'm very curious to see how this plotline continues. I don't necessarily think they're going to continue with the wings right away in the next episode, but that's definitely going to be a thing for the finale of the season. That is 100% going to be a part of the finale. And that's pretty exciting. But we have to talk about what is going to replace this for the time being. And as I said, we are not dropping Lucifer. It is just being put on hold because I just feel like I don't have the energy to do two 45-minute to an hour shows right now. Especially ones that have a more serious by nature focus comparatively. This and Hellbound, it's like, I'm going to stick with Hellbound for now. We'll take a break on Lucifer. It's halfway through the season anyway. And we'll come back to Lucifer after this next series. So, I had actually been kind of like mulling around in my head what to replace this with. Because there's obviously quite a bit of shows on the list for donation rewards. You got to remember, Lucifer is a donation reward. So, there's quite a few shows that were on the list, and I'm looking at the ones that I wanted to get to the most, and it's like, okay, I've got like 3 choices here. And it just basically kind of came down to, this is the one that I just want to get to. I didn't think about it in like, oh, what would be the best one to get to right now? What would be the most fitting one to get to? No, I just thought of like, I just want to get to this one. You know? It's purely on just my desire to get to it. And that is Undead Unluck. Like, ever since I reacted to the first episode of this, I wanted to get to more. If you don't remember, the first episode was a first impression, just like Lucifer, actually. And it is also a donation reward at the same time. It was literally requested as both, which is a unique situation. It doesn't happen very often, but because of this situation, it transfers between the two. So it's technically a first impression for the first episode, but because I decided to continue it, it now becomes like a full donation reward instead of a first impression. And so it is like for this kind of slot. I didn't even think when I chose to get to this about it being like Lucifer that it was a first impression as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty fun. Pretty fun. Um, and yeah, I'm very excited to get back to more because, like I said, when I first saw this, it just it hooked me in really, really well. And we did the reaction to the opening as well because the first episode, I believe, didn't have the opening. So I did like a opening reaction separately because of Queen Bee doing the theme song, and I'm just very hooked in. I believe it's by David Production, actually, the same group that does like Fire Force and Cells at Work and JoJo. I believe it's David Production who puts this one out. Either way, the first episode was really good, and I'm very excited to get to more. I think it's a single core series, at least for now. I don't know if there's planned second season or whatnot, but I believe it's like only 12, 13 episodes, so it should be pretty easy to get through. And based off of the first episode, it's more than likely going to be something that I'm going to enjoy the entire way through. It just seems like it's my kind of series, you know? And I mean, I like the characters right off the bat, so that's always a plus. So yeah, we're going to get to that starting next week. And then once we're done with that, we will come right back to Lucifer. We will be coming right back to it. And like I said, I think this time off, especially after this episode, especially after the big reveal with his wings, I think that's going to be a good thing. I think that's going to help with the enjoyment of the series. And by the point we come back at, we'll be done with Hellbound, so we won't have to worry about that at that point anyway. So yeah, pretty excited to get to this. Very interested to see more of this series. And tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Lucifer? Thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.